efficiency, but cool. So we are live. We're just waiting for attendees. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Just going to give you a few minutes to all join. The problem with Zoom, Per, is they let like 10 in at a time. And that's the problem. We've done these, and some people are there very early, so they're waiting like 2 minutes for you to start, and some have just come in. So we've learned all this over the last 18 months. You can see the numbers just going up. Thank you all for joining. I know it's a little bit early, so some people might still be just finishing work and stuff like that. The session will be recorded, so it will be sent out to all of our members. Someone that has just said hello. As you can see, Per Mertesacker is here. He was actually here before me. Total German efficiency there against Indian timekeeping. It was, we've got some members saying hello to you, Per, and I think everyone's really excited to kind of have you with us. Right, okay, I'll give it 1 more minute and then we'll kind of start. Not sure if Tim's joined us, but he will go.
Yeah, I know. But,
oh, I should do the
yep, and you got a football as well, yeah?
These are signed ones.
Oh, super. Oh, that's great.
There we go, we've got rid of Tim. Don't need him here. Right, okay, cool. Nice, lots of hellos coming in. Right, so house rules as normal. We're going to be here for about sort of 40 minutes or so. And you can ask questions in the Q&A. We're probably going to keep it strictly for the Q&A rather than the kind of radio phone in just for time. We have had submitted questions in, so I'm going to kind of ask Per that. Going to have a bit of a chat. Per's going to talk to us about the academy, his views on things, and we're going to talk about his career. And I think we all want to talk about that 2017 FA Cup final, Per. We just have to spend a few minutes on that later. I'm sure you want to talk about that too.
Yeah, no problem.
So Per, I mean, if I take you to kind of last night, because it's topical. Obviously, we went to Everton yesterday. Probably wasn't our best performance. What were your feelings?
Yeah, tough night. I mean, for everyone involved, you know, because when you look back a week ago, almost like before the Man United game, we were in really good position, you know, to kick on and to show our ambition, you know, in terms of, you know, where we're at and where we want to be, kind of skipping a little bit the process. However, after 2 away fixtures, which are always tough, you know, to get Man United and Everton will never be easy. I thought we were lacking something, you know, that would kind of justify, you know, challenging for the top 4. We really didn't show up on both nights, especially last night was very, very disappointing and tough learning, you know, for our team that is clearly in a process, and we got to accept it in a way. However, that's the reality check, you know, we need to start a run now, you know, we cannot slip up anymore. So see how the team reacts, especially after 2 losses away from home. How can we regroup now and just start the journey again, basically? You know?
Yeah. I mean, the next 6 games, potentially, West Ham's obviously very tough. There's on paper, if there is a chance to start a run before Man City on New Year's Day, it must be now.
December is always season defining.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, there are a number of games coming up now, and not before. We had like a game every week now. In terms of on the injury front, we were quite lucky. Obviously, Emil was missing, you know, last night. One of our own, basically, who was asked to do a lot, you know, at the moment. You know, our youngsters, you know, being leaders on the field, leading the side, making a difference, you know, and that is tough, you know, at places like Man United and Everton, where, you know, into the nitty gritty, where you will have uncomfortable moments. So, you know, this is past now. Really disappointed, you know. How can we now, you know, start the run in the season defined in December?
I mean, if I take you back to your career, Pat, I mean, you know, we often got Champions League in your career, but we had moments and we had seasons where you thought it's looking a little bit risky here. What will the squad be thinking right now, today, or maybe tomorrow? No, I'm in a recovery session today, but the next time they're in training, what will they be saying to each other? What should the senior players be saying?
Yeah, I actually saw the guys today,
Okay.
you know, because had a presentation actually on the foundation and the work they do. So it gives you a little bit of perspective, you know, because the squad was down, you know, it's down, you know, one day after a tough loss, coming home late, basically don't sleep really well, you know, you're a bit hit, you know, from the side. It is how you respond, how you regroup. And this is now down to the more senior players who have got experience with failure, a little bit more than the younger players. And I would say that consistency is key as well from the oldest, more senior players to turn up, you know, still on time, still doing everything you can to recover quickly. And I think Mikel had a few words today, trying to analyze the game, you know, what happened, you know, giving some reality check, but making sure that the players are fine to move forward, you know, and not stick too long to what happened on the pitch Thursday and Monday, because it was a quick turnaround of 2 away games. Now, you want to analyze it, you want to be critical, but then it's around starting again the consistency and the processes to prepare for the next game. So, as I said, you know, what I have done, you know, recover to the best ability I could, trying to sleep as well as I could, doing the treatment, doing everything right, you know, from this moment in time to be ready for selection again, because everyone needs to be available now and everyone needs to make sure that, you know, you take the responsibility, you know, because it's all right to feel disappointed, but to refocus is the next step. And I hope that the players are on the way, you know, come tomorrow, to feel the responsibility to turn things around and to make sure we make a run to challenge for the spots that we want to challenge for, that we hope for this season, which is around, you know, if you look at the top 3, we're probably not going to make it, but in terms of 4 to 8, everything is possible, you know, and we should then aim for the highest possible position.
You know about senior players sort of not being used to failure, but have experienced it more, as you rightly say. What will the younger players be thinking? And obviously, a few of them you know really well, and you mentioned Emil, there's Bakayo, a few of our own, few we've brought in. But what will they be thinking? Because obviously they haven't maybe experienced. I mean, Aaron Ramsdale has a little bit because of these relegations, but generally, what will they be feeling?
I think, you know, sometimes in those moments, especially young players, they look to the older ones, you know, how do they react? You know, it's kind of, and then you cannot slip up with your behavior, you know, because obviously they're trying to lead as well in a way, but they will look more to the experienced players, to the coach. What are these guys doing? And then just align. That's why it's so important that the more experienced players, you know, the leaders, pull the youngsters to their sides. You know, this we will go through this together. You know, and not single out any person. You know, it's just how does the team react? You know, if we have just individual reactions in all kind of directions, we have no chance. We have no chance to establish ourselves, you know, in kind of the top 6 positions in this league. So we kind of knew that these things will happen. It is then how long will these dry spells continue? And then again, the challenge: if you have too many dry spells throughout the season, you will lose 10 plus games, and then you'll be mediocre. And mediocre means mid-table, and we've experienced that in the last couple of seasons. And going forward, we want to show progress.
Absolutely. Per, you mentioned the foundations. I think it's a good time just to talk about that. So for everyone watching, there is an online raffle. If you check the AST newsletter, you will have seen it promoted, and it was promoted again today. So please, you know, give generously. There is going to be a signed shirt to be won, which we're going to draw sort of after the event kind of happens. So I think the draw closes at about 6:15. So get your kind of raffle tickets in before then. I will post a link to the chat in a minute or two. But Per, just talk about the foundation actually. You know, you've obviously you do a lot of work for the foundation. I think we've actually met a couple of times at foundation events and stuff like that. How proud are you, of how the foundation has just grown?
Amazing. I mean, this is part of being Arsenal. This is part of the DNA of giving back, being there for the community, making a difference in other people's lives. You know, this is sharing top and good practice, and for the ones who haven't been that beneficial and that kind of, you know, positive in their lives. So I'm a proud member of that, you know, within the community here,
Yeah.
around Islington, but as well, you know, with Save the Children and the project we've been kind of launching in Jordan, you know, where I had the opportunity to be there,
Yeah.
you know, to see what kind of impact we have, you know, on a global basis, and kind of people that have been fled, you know, through their lives, just being knocked back, you know, how much of an impact can we have, you know, as players of Arsenal Football Club, as fans, you know, everyone can play a part and can really feel proud of that. So I am, and when you listen again to the presentation to the players, because, you know, everyone has a chance to contribute, you know, and obviously the players are in a very, very beneficial position, really, really privileged. And I always was really proud when I could donate day's wages, for example, you know, these players got asked the question again, and this is just part of being Arsenal, part of being, you know, making a difference. And quite proud actually, you know, to play a small part. And that's why I always, if you represent Arsenal, you represent giving back, you represent the foundation, and I think fans can feel the same.
I remember actually at one of the foundation balls that when you were captain, it was the bit when you start to auction out things and stuff. And I remember you just before it started, you told your table, so about 8 or 9 players, make sure you all bid and make sure you all give generously. And I remember that because we were only a few tables near you, and we could hear you being very firm with them. And to be honest, if you told me to do something the size of you, I would just do it. So I think most of the players gave very generously as well. But it is important, as you say.
It is massively important that the players, you know, role model, you know, because sometimes you kind of, you go to the training ground and you go to the training pitch, and that's all you see sometimes, you know, you got to look more broadly, you know, of what Arsenal does, you know, in the community worldwide to make a difference. So I'm really, really proud. And if sometimes I need to put players into their place where they don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes, what you guys, what the fans are working on, you know, voluntarily, what the Arsenal Foundation guys are working on, you know, what the Coaching for Life program, Drew Tyler, who I absolutely admire in the work he does and flies out to Jordan trying to coach the coaches there, you know, that we're not, you know, like donating money. No, actually we want to make an impact to the people there to become coached, to have impact on the 40,000 kids who live in a refugee camp. So the impact is amazing. And sometimes you kind of lose track of that, you know, if you just live in a little football bubble. So, but it's not about me. The players have been amazing throughout that journey.
Just finally on that, I mean, it was something Arsene Wenger used to say a lot, and actually he did say it again recently in the comms he'd done around this film. But he said the Arsenal brand and the Arsenal name goes such a long way. So, I mean, when you went to places like Jordan, were you actually surprised at how much people knew about Arsenal and how just in love with Arsenal they were? Yeah,
it gives you a big buzz, you know, because, you know, everyone is kind of vulnerable, but when you see the conditions, you know, people live in, and you know, they love a club. That's their life, basically, right? You kind of, and these guys know you. It's very humbling. You know, it's very humbling to see it live, because we can talk about it here, but to feel it, to be there, it's a different ball game. So, and actually see the impact we have, and in building pitches and educating people, it's so massive. So, you know, it's a very humbling experience. So. We need to be aware. Yeah,
and I think it's great. I mean, we've got members from all over the world, and I mean, as I look behind us, we've got the Emirates Stadium behind us, which you won't be able to see because it's a bit dark. But you know, when you're here and you're coming here, you've got the 60,000, but you kind of forget how much more there is in the world, how much more Arsenal there is in the world. And I just think, you know, we've seen that really over the last 2 years. We have seen our membership of overseas members just go like that, and we love them. We're so happy to have them, which is why we're doing this, because they can't be at the Emirates. But just that whole, you know, doing your bit, I think is obviously really important.
It's crucial. Yeah, everyone can have a contribution to this amazing football club that has, you know, made a lot of history. And I'm just, you know, sitting here as well, humble to be in a position where Arsene Wenger, who have revolutionized, you know, kind of English football and taking this club to another level, has given me an opportunity to still be here. You know, still be here and given me an opportunity to make a contribution, you know, to the academy and to the club, and just transport, you know, the message of, you know, the caring piece that Arsenal does, and that everyone can play a part, whether that's come here, sit in the stadium, support elsewhere, watching us, donating for the foundation. You know, these little pieces come a long way, and to appreciate that is crucial.
Absolutely. So that's a good segue on. You know, you was it when did you retire? 2018, right? So 2018 comes along. There was obviously a few retirements and people leaving, and it was all a very emotional time for an Arsenal fan. When did you realise? Well, you sort of knew you were retiring, but when did you realise actually there is a potential position for me at Arsenal? And how did that all happen? It can't, you know, you wouldn't have just woken up one day and thought, I'm going to stay as a, you know, how? Tell me about that story.
Yeah, it was probably a year earlier,
okay,
where for the first time, just Arsene addressed me, you know, in a meeting where you could sense that my playing days would be limited, you know, kind of, and then you kind of think
it's a hard conversation though, isn't it?
It's a hard conversation. It was with Arsene, but with myself following, because he literally said I had a year left on my contract, come March 2017, where I didn't play a particular good role, you know, the whole season I was injured, my knee was hurt. So I could sense that it's time to think about the future, whether I want to go back to Germany and play a couple of seasons. I was actually 32, roughly, at that, 33 at that time. So he got me in office and just kind of got the idea of whether I want to stay at the club. The conversation was, yeah, why not? I love to. There was no conversation on any role, but I just gave him the indication. Then, you know,
this was March 2017. You said,
yes,
right,
exactly. And I wasn't really, you know, part of any squad, you know, and I trained, obviously, tried to do my best there. Still was a captain, so he kind of dropped that idea with me. And a couple of weeks later, I sat with him and Ivan Gazidis, and because the academy role was vacant at that time, there was an interim academy manager because Andries Jonker left to Wolfsburg. As the head coach, they both asked me if I want to be the academy manager in a year's time, basically after my contract finishes. You know, I didn't know what that meant. Basically, right? So to be totally honest, I didn't know what that meant. However, I then thought about my own tough conversation. Do I want to stop playing? You know, and does my family want to stay in England? Because when we came to England, and that was 6 years prior to that moment, I gave my wife kind of a free pass. You know, if my career is over, you can choose wherever you want to. You stay. You went with me, you know, to places, and now was your time. But of course, you know, kids, you know, kind of only raised in England, so it was not only my sole decision where to be. And my wife was really comfortable with the situation to stay here, and I was comfortable to stop my career, you know, for the various reasons. And I didn't want to end my career and say, or too many people saying, you're not this anymore, you're not that anymore. And I didn't want to create expectations back in Germany to join a club and then be totally overwhelmed, you know, by that. So then 2 weeks later, I basically decided, Arsene, Ivan, you know, I'm really, really honored to be part of that. I obviously have got a year left, but that gives me a great chance to transition properly, trying to dive into the academy, do my B license, coach a few players, but then get familiar with the job at hand. So that's how it came about. And it came to a point where actually March 2017, where I was struggling to kind of, you know, get in the team. I was injured the whole year. So, but I think what the conversation did was, because Mikel Arteta was kind of leaving a couple of years earlier to this point, and I think Arsene wanted to keep him at that point. But then obviously Mikel had different plans to go to Guardiola. I think at that moment he dropped to Arsene, you know, if you want my opinion and you don't want to lose another good one that is here in the club, have a look at Per and what he does in his future. So I think, you know, Mikel played a part as well in kind of helping me to transition.
Okay, we'll talk about Mikel in a little while. Just carrying on that story. So March 17, you know, you're finished, your legs have gone, your knees hurt, you're this. Bang, May 2017, Lauren Koscielny gets sent off, I think. Mustafi's injured, Gabriel's injured. Suddenly there's a young Rob Holding. We want to play 3 at the back, so we have to play our left back in as the left centre back as in Nacho Monreal. And suddenly Per Mertesacker, who hasn't played all season, suddenly is about to play one of the biggest games. And it was a really big game because obviously we weren't doing as well in the league. Chelsea were on for a double, when for Arsenal, double means a lot. You know, we've won several doubles. Yeah. It was a huge game. So from being told you're finished, I'm sure they did it lightly. Arsene was almost like, yeah. How did that feel? Because suddenly you were thrown into a game.
Yeah. So there was the moment of them offering me a job until the moment where I said to Arsene, listen, send me on holiday because I'm not in the squad. I had a really low moment, you know, and that was probably 3, 4, 5 weeks before that final, where he then put me into place. And listen, you're important to this team, you know, how you train and you're a role model. You can't just float off now. No. You stay here, you do everything you can on a daily basis to prepare yourself. And come the last match day of the season, I think we played Everton. Everton, and Lukaku was playing, and Laurent got sent off. Yeah. And Mustafi had a concussion before the game. Gabriel then got a knee injury, and then Arsene Wenger looked over, you know, on the bench, and I was lucky I made the bench, you know. And then I think he saw Steve Bolt sit next to him and was thinking about him, but then he glanced over to me and said, listen, well,
one more injury would be both of you.
have a 30 minutes, you know, and it worked really well. You know, that game, I was out for nearly, for 8-9 months, you know, coming back from a serious knee injury. And then, but it's just what helped me, obviously, you know, was my consistency, you know, just keeping fit and being ready, you know, whatever happens. Anything can happen, basically, from being finished, gone, to playing 30 minutes against Lukaku. It worked quite well. Won the game. I think we sealed the Champions League football as well. Plus, and at that time, you don't really think about it, right? You finish the game really happy. But come the next week, you're thinking, you know, he's out. What are we doing, man? What's going on? So, literally, you know,
I did Arsene tell you were playing, or did you know you didn't need to have it?
I mean, he took me to the press conference. You know,
okay.
Pre-match. That was 2 days before.
Fine.
So when you're thinking,
team's not out, but he's taken you.
He's taken me probably. You know, I'm the captain, so he's taken me. So you kind of maybe, you know, because the question was, you know, when you play, what you're going to do? I said, listen, I've done this for 13 years. You know, just focus on the basics, and that's what I did for 13 years. And this was what I'm going to do in the final. So that was the answer. But you kind of, or maybe, you know, he's still got options, and I might not play. Come the pre-match training, and you know, we kind of prepared. You know, it's back 3, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on the left, Hector Bellerin on the right, Nacho and Rob Holding next to me, and we were kind of preparing ourselves for this hook play to Diego Costa that they do with they always played the back 5 under Conte. So it was actually, we were really well prepared, I have to say, you know, and just how we then executed with being total underdogs, you know, it was.
Does that help us being underdogs?
I think, you know, as you mentioned, you know, when you win the league, you have got the momentum on your side. You feel of kind of, you know, they can't beat us. I think that they must have seen the team sheet. They must have laughed, basically laughed. Who are they, man? I think it was that kind of what we took advantage of. And then I think there were a lot of doubt in our squad, you know, try to stay cool and just be reassuring to everyone around. However, there was a little bit of doubt, you know, around. I think the first 10-15 minutes worked really well. Keep passing the ball, and the crowd, you know, kind of felt that. Hey, we've got
I was in the front.
We've got an opportunity here from, oh my God, you know, we have no chance, to 10-15 minutes in the game, you're feeling, wow, we're passing, we're winning duels. Everyone plays their part. The long guy at the back, you know, winning his duels as well. So we have kind of a chance. So I think it was an amazing achievement, you know, to kind of nail the 3rd FA Cup in 4 years. You know, it was a great spell. And you're looking back, obviously, you never won like the championship that we wanted, you know. But got Champions League football, got the 3rd FA Cup in 4 years, and not probably the most talented squad or the most talented 11, but you can see it was meant to be. You know, they come back 1-1, we closed the deal straight after. You know, it was kind of you know, and Giroud and Ramsey and all these.
But Giroud just come on actually.
These characters are gone now as well. You know, you can't underestimate, you know, kind of the shift that has been going on in terms of the senior leaders, you know, that have kind of left the ship in recent years.
But you as a player, just in that, did you feel like when you've got an Alexis Sanchez, who at the time, in my opinion, was one of the best players in the league, when you've got him, you've always got a chance?
Yeah,
that's how we felt as fans, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and at that time, I think he was at the best at Arsene. And guess what? We knew how to take him. He would have his flaws, you know, in terms of transition. I mean, his instant reaction were unbelievable. You know, he would lose it sometimes then, you know, to kind of be consistent with his defending. However, you take that on board because he was so much effective, you know, going forward, assists, goals, his ratio was unbelievable. You kind of take that into account and say, okay, we need to do a little bit more work on this. But you had a Danny Welbeck, worked his nuts off, basically, you know, in the game. And someone who always was like kind of trusted in big game scenarios, even by Sir Alex Ferguson. So, and then Mesut, who was, you know, at the time,
great game.
You know, the individual performances matched, and then we were just the better team in terms of that we could then transfer, you know, our good skills that we had and the talent we had with Xhaka, Ramsey as well in midfield. You know, and we've kind of named all the players now.
But
and Ospina in goals.
He made a great save to Costa.
He made an amazing save. So it was overall, it was a great Wembley performance from Arsenal Football Club. So whenever we kind of turn up at Wembley and the fans turn up, which was absolutely unbelievable, from feeling the doubt, from feeling the belief. That's what we as a team you have to create that as well sometimes, where you kind of feel the hesitation facing the champions. Let's embrace it and let's turn the momentum around. And if it got knocked back, we changed the mind straight away. It was a frustrating day for Chelsea London. But yeah, it's in the past. We're trying to create more of these, you know, in the future. So
but football is about memories as well, and you have to enjoy those times. Just quickly, after the cup final, you were finished. Suddenly, you were man of the match. Did you feel I can still play on? What are you talking about, academy? I can play, or was it a case of you knew that was probably that was the last hurrah, so to speak?
Happy ending. You know, happy ending moment. I have to say, because you're gonna look back 5 weeks prior, I had a meltdown basically. Where Arsene Wenger put me back, and I knew another pre-season, you know, kind of, and then helping the squad maybe to develop, but being on the touchline, making my transition. So reality checks are important, and people around you who, you feel hyped about it, about one performance. This is one day at Wembley. I can deliver, you know. But to do it consistently, I know what it takes, you know, in kind of, you know, what I've done and the intensity I've been through. I knew, you know, that I'm not capable and ready to do more of this damage, you know, to other players. So I could do some damage to Diego Costa, you know, on a day, you know, 3 days later, I probably couldn't. So I knew that was a really happy ending for me.
Last bit on that, last question, I promise on that. There's a bit that I remember watching the tunnel cam thing that the FA put out. There was a bit, you were coming back in and Martin Keown was there. And he said something about it's the Mertesacker final, and you said, don't write me off. Was that a bit of it wasn't maybe personal for Martin, but was it kind of to the media? Because you felt actually people had written you off in the media and you felt a little bit like, I've showed you, I'm still a player.
Yeah, and that's the beauty as a footballer, right?
You can prove
people wrong, and you gotta enjoy these moments because people will doubt you, and doubt you rightly so. I mean, I haven't played for a year. I mean, what would I expect people to say? However, I enjoyed the moment because, you know, Martin, you know, he works for the media. It's a different perspective. You're trying to make predictions. But with predictions, you'll sometimes go right, sometimes go wrong. And in this case, I kind of said, you know, be careful, you know, who you write off, you know, and so, I've enjoyed that moment. It wasn't personal to him. It was just a narrative of, you know, people write you off, but it gives you a good chance.
Well, I'll get a few questions from people because obviously there are lots of questions. And I mean, I'm going to talk to you about the academy now, but I can actually see quite a lot of people have asked about the academy. So let's just pick a question about the academy. So this is from Mark Stewart. He said, how can you do more in the academy to protect the youngsters from the horrors of social media? That is a question I was going to ask you around online abuse and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you do stuff with the young lads?
Yeah. We're trying to educate as much as we can. You got to do this. Now you got to have workshops early days to really make sure that players, parents understand what social media can give you, what it can take away from you, and that everyone can see that stuff that you put out. So we want, obviously they need to make a choice whether they want to be part of it and use it as a positive tool, which has got risks, and then show them all the examples, what players have contributed, what players have done, what players have deleted, because they've made emotional kind of decisions fairly quickly. So, and the abuse that's constantly going on, and how much protection you have, from the companies that are kind of leading those social media channels. So it's a whole education tool. Do we try to use it, in our channels, academy, to kind of promote, the positive stuff that we do around it. But you have to work with the players, with the parents, educate, do workshops to constantly reiterate that it is a tool that you can use, but it's a tool that is dangerous as well. And you've got to make a choice what you want to do. I think I was fortunate that when I came through the academy, came through a club like Hanover, made my debut, there was no social media around, and I didn't need to believe the hype. I was never hyped, and even social media had no chance to get me hyped. So it is a new generation that I need to clearly understand as well. So we're trying to work with our media guys, with our communication guys, to do media training, to do workshops around but it's a constant thing. It's a constant evolving thing. So we need to make people aware, but obviously it's not easy to handle, I can tell you.
Yeah, we've done some work with Mark Vanilla and Kate Laron's actually on that. That's my industry on social media, so that's what I'm passionate about. Talking just widely about the academy, you kind of said that, when you were when Arsene and Ivan said academy manager, you kind of thought, what is that? I'll take it, but what is that sort of thing? So from that day to now, talk to me about that journey. How's it evolved?
A huge journey, learning curve for myself. Obviously in my first year, played some football, but trying to integrate, with the people, and trying to understand how many people actually work for the academy and how many people you're responsible for at the end of the day, And if you hear 80 plus people full-time working for the academy, coaches, analysts, fitness coaches, psychologists, operations people, and then the holders, club supports, stadium management, facilities, player care, that it's huge opportunity for me to understand, first of all, So I think it took me, a year to really listen and take in all the information, but as well, make some effort as well, what I want to bring to this role, how I see the academy evolving, because ultimately the academy has been so successful over the years, and you gotta make sure that you respect that. On the other hand, Arsene, you probably, I'm going to be ambitious. I want to learn. I want to make a mark, in terms of, what I want to bring to the table, and to sense check the reality, of how many actually make it, from under 9 to actually make an impact into the professional game, which is very, very low. How do we give everyone an experience that they can benefit for their lives, and who don't end up in professional football? So there is always trying to find that balance between, the business side of things, and kind of developing the next Bukayos and Mias, but as well the Ainsley Maitland-Niles and the things that happened before, the Jack Wilsheres, the Cesc Fabregas. So there was a huge responsibility. So I think the curve was a lot of learning, a lot of education for myself. I needed to be a role model in this, and do my B license, A license, to be on a coaching front as well. But understanding the leadership role, the management role, taking care of staff and people, because ultimately everyone needs to reiterate the messages you're going to send out. I'm not able to do it on my own. So to come up with a framework, but to put that into life, you need the people on side. So I'm still on the journey, basically, and thinking I can make a huge impact in 2 years. It's impossible in your football. A lot of players have a cycle of 10 years, going from under 9 to under 19, under 21s. this is, if you want to make a real impact, this is the cycle, right? So being in now for 3 years, starting my 4th season, you start to see, little impact. But however, you're going to shape the culture, you're going to shape the personnel you're going to hire, and you get things right, you get things wrong, learn from it. Reflection is a huge part, but the personal development alongside is crucial.
And what's like the objective? Like, I mean, is it get X amount of players into the first team squad? Is it what start of every season or what do you say to yourself I need to do?
There is an element of that for sure. But I'm not going to get carried away with it, because you can always look at how many academy graduates are in the first team squad, for example, which, you could argue, do you want to have 50%, from which is a high number, could be a target, we always were 25%, but then it's as well determined if an Alex Iwobi goes away, if a Joe Willock goes away. I mean, how do you then, the numbers,
how do you measure that?
How do you measure that then, or in terms of minutes, it is difficult if you have like a hard cap, or we want to have every 2 years, one Haaland graduate in the first team squad. Yeah, you have those numbers in place and you get checked by it. But
it's bigger than that.
It's sometimes it's a business, but it's bigger than that, where we need to have responsibility for all our kids that enter to have a safe environment where they can grow and develop. And even the 1%, we want to make them better. We want to make the Meals and Kaios to the ones who really lead the way and make them better people, for them to have an outstanding career, make a difference. Because Arsene, as we said, foundation work, impact they have, on society, it's going to be big. Whether that's here at Arsenal, Emirates, other football club, or somewhere else, everyone has got a chance to contribute to a better world. And that's kind of the ethos you're trying to ride, apart from the numbers that are part of the game. But I'm not looking every day at those, because I don't want to get stuck in, because what I can't control is sometimes that player goes from Arsenal to somewhere else. And you could argue, could Joe have stayed? Maybe, but he brought us, good money to invest in the future. That's
going to be my question about that. Is it a kind of, ideally you want everyone to be successful at Arsenal, but actually does it give you a little bit of pleasure when you think a Joe Willock hopefully will have a great career at Newcastle? We all want that. But we did get 25 million that we can reinvest elsewhere. You're doing your role for the club.
Yeah, big time. Big time. I mean, not everyone will get play for Arsenal. Not everyone. And it's just unrealistic. We want to, be part of getting opportunities for these players. And if our people are good enough to make an impact in the Premier League for another club, that's huge. That is going to the top, basically. But it won't happen for everyone. Some will just go on loan or get permanent to League One, League Two club. Some will go out of the game. Have we educated them? Have they got their badges? Do they have maybe Korean football? Have they got the BTEC? Have they got A levels? Can they then make an impact? Do they do business studies or whatever they want? Have we given them the platform not to? Basically, when the bubble bursts of academy and beautiful things. Do they have something to fall onto, or is it just this? If the burden of football is too big, they're going to be struggles. And then we're talking mental, physical health, just to have a fulfilled and valuable life, because the expectation is obviously to make it. So we want to obviously, make sure that they understand what the journey can hold for them, but it is not to the detriment, basically, which is huge.
We'll do a couple more questions from people. This is one about how has the turnover at the top of the club in your 3 years in charge affected your role? So obviously we've seen changes with Ivan going, as you said, and Arsene, and then obviously Senelli and co like that. How is that affected, or have you just kind of get on with my role?
I think I felt always to trust whoever kind of line managed me or was in charge. I felt the trust from the people in the academy, so I could get on with the change that happened in the academy, basically, because that is your sole focus, change management, and that's what I had to learn. It's the most difficult thing, No one wants to lead change, no one wants to deal with it, no one wants to manage it. So, and that was part of the process as well, to see what's going on, but then as well making the right steps and the right decisions for the club. And that is sometimes not easy to do, to part ways with some amazing people, but it's sometimes, you know, to go in a certain direction. So I actually had to concentrate on what was going on in the academy even more. But what helps is, no matter who was at the helm or what changed, there was a certain trust in me and in the academy, I have to say, and that was from people like Vina, who's in charge now, or Edu, or Mikel, the people who are now on, or even a Raul or an Ivan, and Arsene. There was a certain trust in the ability for me to learn, because they knew they're going to hire someone who was fairly inexperienced, so I would heavily rely on people around me to make the right calls, which was a good learning for me as well. So now 3 years on, lots of things have been going on, a lot of things to deal with. So I think I'm a better academy manager, but ready to go again, basically, and better myself.
Absolutely. Just a quick note that the raffle is closing in about 3 minutes. So if you want to get your last bids in, tickets in, please do. There's a signed Arsenal shirt to be won. There's also going to be a book that Per Mertesacker autobiography that he's kindly going to sign. He didn't know that, by the way. I've just broken it to him now, and now he has to do it because you're all watching. So that is the way I roll. So yeah, few more minutes on that. We've probably got about 10 more minutes for this part of the event. There was a question actually here from Vincent about, do youth teams kind of play a similar tactic and stuff to the first team, so that when the transition happens, it's a little bit easier, or do they play their own style, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think is a good question. Obviously, you want to align as much as you can, you know, to an extent where obviously if people from the academy step up, they are flexible enough, you know, to adjust to whatever system, to whatever formation is going to be played. But we need to be flexible. So we have Mikel Arteta presenting to our academy coaches, you know, on, you know, how he would approach a final against Manchester City, you know, the FA Cup final. He walked us through, you know, his thinking process, principle of plays, what they're going to do. So that's how we started CPD for our coaches, basically, you know, with the top end, say what's going on at the first team level, because, you know, they're busy, you know, day-to-day work, first team is fairly busy. So, and at the moment, our head of coaching in the academy, Luke Hobbs, kind of aligning with a methodology guy from Mikel, you know, from the first team, to kind of align it as much as we can. They would never, you know, I think, you know, the most famous is Barcelona 4-3-3, and everyone's the same system. You know, we're not on the similar path, because Mikel sometimes played a back three, won an FA Cup. Now we're back four, trying to develop something with 2 number 8s. You know, sometimes in the academy, you know, you play that system, sometimes you don't, you know, to give as well the flexibility for players to grow into a role. I mean, I was always a centre back. My debut, I need to go right back. I mean, how do you react? Do you follow? Do you then just say, oh, I've never done it? Or say, listen, I'm flexible enough to make the best possible decisions, whatever challenge I face on the pitch. You know, all the coaches outside, they can do everything they want. They prep me as much as one in the game scenario. I'll make the decisions on what I see, you know, on the pitch. And if the education is, you know, based on principles, yes, you know, that are aligned as possible. However, then, you know, giving me the flexibility to do whatever is best, you know, in the given moment. That is what we've seen with the Bukayo, with Emil as well, where Bukayo, you know, came up playing, you know, on the left wing. We always maybe thought he's going to be a left wing back. Now he's making a difference on the right wing. So it just shows you that example of, you know, players got to be flexible and need to know how to be effective. And that's why we speak in the academy as well about effective team players. Obviously, you know, aligned to a playing style and how do they do with it. But they need to be comfortable to any situation in football, and that can change, you know, and they can change to any second, and the pressure could be still on because of based on the result, 2-0 down. How do you react then? You know, is it then? So we're kind of building the academy up into that you can play basically multiple formations, but trying to let the principles stay as aligned as possible to the first team, which is playing, mastering the ball to dominate possession. You know, this is what, you know, Mikel gets sense for that. However, you know, as well, sometimes we're leading 1-0 and then we're struggling to find a way back, because we're kind of sitting back. So the psychology of the game is obviously, a big factor as well. So you want to bring players that are as flexible as possible, to have a framework, but be flexible in it.
Yeah. Cool. I'll ask you a couple of quick fires. There's not a bottle of water there if you do need another. I'll ask you a few quick fire ones just so we can get through as many of these. Is there any certain players that you're really excited for that you think actually are very close to the first team and can help the first team, sort of maybe even this season?
I think, we have exciting players, and we are really confident that that we have good players that can make that transition. I mean, we have kind of seen in the last couple of years that the loan market has expanded for our youngsters to get more experience at first team level, to kind of build a foundation for them, really, not to just rely on Bukayo Saka, just make the transition make it so smoothly. He's an exception. So in terms of looking at the 23s, you have 3, 4, 5 players who you think, I'm not going to mention names here because I'm not a name dropper. I was as a person, I would, when I was 16, 17, I had a reality check where my name was dropped, in terms of you're never going to make it. And even I would admit, these guys, they're amazing. These 3, 4, they're going to make it 100%. Never to be seen in professional football. So we're trying to build youngsters who are resilient enough to make that step happen. And Mikel is in a position where he sees it, and he wants to integrate youngsters. However, we need to acknowledge that they need a hell of a lot of experience as well to make a proper impact in the first team. So are we excited about certain individuals? Absolutely. I wouldn't do my job, I wouldn't be passionate about it. I'm not going to hype a player now to create false expectations.
Cool. So it's from Richard. Although Per is currently working with the academy, does he have any long-term ambitions of joining the first team squad, or potentially even be in the hot seat? And obviously you were alongside Freddie Ljungberg for a few games and stuff, and that was maybe a little bit surreal because you were sort of just thrown in and there wasn't many of you. But long term, what are your ambitions? What does Per Mertesacker want to do?
See, I started a journey, kind of being the best academy manager, and alongside that journey, did my coaching badges, did a free weekend in the first team, where I was a little bit overwhelmed by the intensity and but I wanted to be available and give something back as well to the club, where the club feels, he's in a position where he's academy manager, but he's respected by the players. He can make an impact. He's got experience. So at the moment, I feel pretty good where I am, to make a difference, to kind of lead the players, the coaches, the staff, to make a difference. So my ambitions are, that I want to do that. I want to nail that down, for the next years. And I'm ready to support Edu as much as I can, Mikel as much as I can. So, but I'm educating myself, on roles who, even as an academy manager now, you are a little technical director, basically, right? So, do I see that position at one stage, like a sporting director, that could potentially be something for me? Do I want to be in a hot seat then again, be more scrutinized? That's the other thing you got to decide then, because I don't want to now say, listen, I want to be this and that in the future. There are more things to kind of discuss with the family as well. Of course. And I've seen my sons growing to have a famous dad who played for Arsenal. It's not always easy to deal with, and once I retired, I see a little relief as well, in them, kind of being not judged on a weekend, but other kids, how the dad did. It is working in an academy, it's tough and you get judged, but less than, being in the first environment. So, I educate myself, to be in a good position to make a step one day, maybe, because I don't want to sit here and say, listen, I want to do this and that. I know that, is a give and a take, you kind of I give myself the best possible chance. I know what football in general has given me, I'm really fortunate, and what it took away from me, and I'm still would do the same stuff, but the consideration, the process which goes behind is a little bit deeper than it was 15 years ago. Go to Bremen, I go to Arsene, that's what I want. There's there's a family behind
Yeah,
me
yeah,
who
more people
support
to
me.
think about, yeah.
So, but I'm very open, and I'm always open to support wherever I need it, basically.
You mentioned Mikel several times,
Yeah.
and obviously he's been coming up to kind of 2 years and stuff. Your relationship with Mikel obviously is close because you played under him as captain,
Yeah.
and he potentially recommended you, then he came back. How's that relationship still going? You know, how do you, if there was a message for people about Mikel, what would you say?
You know, the first impression I got from Mikel, basically, I mean, we were signed the same week. You know? It was kind of
we all
transfer
remember
deadline,
that.
you
Well,
know?
we remember the
Transfer
days
deadline,
before, yeah.
you know, and he was kind of established Premier League player at that time.
Yeah.
He came from abroad, and you know, at that time we were in the same hotel, and he took me every day to training, basically, because I was not familiar with driving on the left side, stuff like that. So, you know, basically from day one, we kind of relished and, you know, embraced, you know, build a relationship, because kind of could see that, you know, two more experienced players coming to a new club, wanted to make kind of an impact. So it was clear from day one, basically, that I want to learn from him, you know, from his experience. So, and kind of years passed by where captain, vice captain, you know, where
you need to have that relationship.
We kind of had all sorts of, you know, disputes as well, in terms of where, you know, and I know from his playing days, and even now I can sense Mikel wants to do the best he can, is intense, and want to take this club forward. You know, I could see his ambition even as a captain, and be myself. You know, sometimes I need to pick up pieces behind it, you know, because things would drop, and I would be in a position where, you know, to balance it a little bit off. But that was my job at that time. But we would have great time together, where we would prepare, you know, on a daily basis to set high standards, you know, at the training ground. Be the first in, be the last out, you know, in terms of having, you know, doing, you know, sorts of treatment together, trying to stay fit and making sure that people see what we are doing, to now where he is, you know, in a very, very leading position, where I need to support him as best as I can, you know, and sometimes just when we have lost, and just offering my, you know, honest support and help, you know, through all these tough moments. But I understand that he is, you know, under some form, he makes himself pressure. You know? It's not that he needs the pressure from outside. He wants to do it extremely well with his coaching team, and they do a lot. And the first car I see in the car park, you know, I call him when I drive in, it's him. And when I glance over to his office, it's the first person in, the last person out, and I'm there trying to support him as much as I can. Obviously, delivering on the front, that we want to give him the best players, the most resilient, consistent players, but as well, you know, offer him always my personal support when he needs it. So, do we have kind of regular catch-ups? No, because, you know, you have to understand, first in football is
very busy,
day in, day out, where he needs to focus on to build a squad that is competitive for the future. And I think he's on that amazing journey. So yeah, a lot of pressure, scrutiny from the outside world. I would just say that, you know, trying to trust the process as much as we can with Mikel, young manager, myself, young academy manager, Edu, been in a position for 2.5 years now. So we want to grow, you know, we want to grow together. We want to support each other. So hopefully we get given the time, which is not easy. Always.
Yeah, in football, especially. I think what you said about supporting Mikel's important. Thierry Henry said in the Arsene Wenger Invincible documentary that the mental health aspect, that players have each other, but the manager, it's a very lonely place. I'm glad you support.
Manager is a very lonely place, and you know, to experience that, you know, as a young coach, he goes through that completely. Is for me to that he feels he's supported. You know, not that, you know, everyone will struggle. You know, everyone will need to show some vulnerability, and just being there and giving him a safe place whenever he wants it. I'm happy to do that, because the intensity, you can't underestimate the intensity, and sometimes you got to dig yourself out of the dark holes that they are, certainly as a player. And I think we've both learned so much from Arsene Wenger, you know, this time, how he was the biggest rock in scrutiny, where he would protect us. You know, we would do the mistakes on the pitch, especially in my first season, and he would just be there, trust me, and, you know, just give us perspective every single day. And that is the learnings that, you know, that you know, we had an opportunity there to learn from him. And now we're in a position where we exactly need to do the things, how he led us. Obviously do it our way,
Of course.
but take on board the advice in tough moments more than in beautiful moments.
Yeah.
Because easy.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a few quick fire questions that will just do 10-second answers. But before I ask that, you said do it your way. One thing, there was a question from Anthony that was pre-submitted that said about, you know, he's noticed that Jack Wilshere's back training, helping the academies in the first thing of time. David Seaman's been back. Is this a conscious effort of getting some real Arsenal people in? Because actually they know the values and actually they fit in, or is it just happened by chance? Has it something we've gone out of our way to do?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, I think there's a huge value in bringing experience, you know, into the building to educate ourselves, you know, in terms of, you know, what kind of people went through, and footballers went through a little bit earlier. So you can learn so much, because what these people have a feel for situations which you can't, you know, read in a book, you know, how to react in certain situations. So really glad that David Seaman is helping, you know, kind of coming in, and, you know, because these experienced guys, in moments that you feel the sense of security and presence, you know, where you would almost say, you know, I can put my head, you know, towards their shoulder, and, you know, I would feel good.
Yeah.
The support of ex-players have been amazing, you know. Just to highlight, David Seaman has done some, you know, even do workshop with players. And when we speak about, you know, champion mentality and how to have champion mentality in the academy, it is all about, sometimes about difficult moments, you know. How can I act like a champion before I win anything? You know, that's kind of the challenge we give our players. And then what does it mean to David Seaman? You know, what does champion mentality mean for David Seaman, who has won a lot, who has played a lot, you know, for Arsenal and England? What does it mean to him? How can we listen and learn for those guys? Similar to Jack, where, you know, he was in a place where he didn't know where his next journey was, and we kind of offered him an opportunity. He has taken it by storm. I am so happy that he's around, because he's more than just a coach. He's more than just a training partner. He's a mentor to a lot of kids, because he has made that journey. I haven't been through the academy. So he's constantly surrounding, you know, the academy and myself with people who add value. So, and once I see commitment and consistency, then we have open arms. So it is both, really. It's a conscious effort, but as well as, you know, if people make themselves available.
Cool. Right, 2 more minutes. So quick answers here, Per. Who was the funniest person in the dressing room when you were playing at Arsenal?
Oh,
Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I love Danny Welbeck. You know, he was someone who light up the day, but as well Lucas Podolski. Who would have.
Attention, please.
We'll just let this.
Attention, please. This.
Who would be positive every single day, you know, comment, never in a bad mood, always brought some kind of perspective, you know, even when you were down, and he was always trying to be funny, basically, to lift the mood. So I would probably highlight them too.
Was there any weird traditions that a player or a few players had before coming onto the pitch? Any strange traditions that they did? From Amanda.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people would touch the grass and just, you know, do their thing and what they believed. So, or not touch the line, basically, or not, you know, or jump on the left foot. I've seen Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain do that. So I would be more like, you know, socks left first, right, you know, do my stuff, would put everything in place. So I would have a couple of, you know, superstition as well.
Okay. Favorite Arsenal teammate? It's a tough one.
Is this quick fire or is it?
Quick fire, you know.
This is quick fire.
But they're deep ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. You know, I just want to consider, you know,
there's so many.
I love the combination of Lucas Fabianski, Thomas Rosicky. You know, we had a little click at that time. So I love them too. Still.
Best player you've played with at Arsenal? Or most talented best player?
Most talented. Santi Cazorla is at the top.
Genius, wasn't he?
Absolute genius, both footed, could always give the ball to, and he would sort the problem.
That was from David, who also said, we're very proud of you, Per, that you're here. I love this question from Mark. What was the party like after you won the World Cup?
I mean, basically you're overwhelmed by the factor, you know, to lift the Golden Cup. And then in Rio, it's a bit disrupted because, you know, everyone wants to be part of that, you know, kind of, and then sponsors and family. You actually want to enjoy more with your teammates. I would have loved to just go away for 3 days and just celebrate just with the teammates, because you've been through a lot, and a few of us have been playing for 10 years, chasing that, chasing a cup. We've always finished third, second, third, you know, kind of, it was an amazing journey. So kind of missed the part of where you could really reflect, because you were just chasing Rio party, you just get drunk to get away from the reality, basically. Then we went back to Berlin. It was amazing, you know, just being where all the fans were, millions on the street, do a little bus tour. That was great. But then it's almost like, we need to go to holiday because pre-season started already. So you're chasing next season by going far in tournaments. So.
Is it the same after FA Cup wins and stuff like that, the celebration? Because everyone's on holiday. I know that we did the bus parades and stuff. But generally, 2017 actually, there wasn't one, was there? Because there was terrorist attacks, Westminster Bridge. I think they were cancelled.
So you had that. I mean, the best one was 14. You know, where it was sunny, where I remember Isling, and then the big roundabout. You know, it was
when you did that Arsenal till I die.
Yeah,
we all remember that.
It was amazing. So that was, you know, the next year it was rainy and it was
horrible.
That 10-year drought, and then the first like major trophy.
Jack Wilshere.
So you know, that it is amazing. To do that is to connect back to the fans. But I would say sometimes it's missing is a little piece of reflection, because almost you're chasing next season already.
Great, Per. I think we're outside. We've actually gone over 15 minutes, which is a bit of because the people down there are going to be after me, but it's fine. We've got a bit of time. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. Really good numbers. Thank you for all your questions. Really sorry that we didn't get through all of them. If you are watching the recording, which I'm sure many people will be, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for everyone that purchased a raffle ticket. And I know there's a few people who wanted to be here in person that couldn't join the virtual for various reasons. I know there's a few kind of sort of COVID issues and stuff. So I hope everyone is well and healthy. And hopefully looking forward to us bouncing back on Saturday at home against Southampton. So from everyone here, from me and Per, thank you. Stay safe. Up the Arsenal.